Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this Essence of Bhagavad-Gita. Before we start off, just a quick guidelines. Uh, Kindly join the meeting only with your registered name. Always mute your microphones if you are not speaking. Post your questions in the chat box. We will answer them at the earliest. Do not post generic greetings messages in the chat window. We also recommend that you turn on your video. However, we will leave it to your decision. We will leave the decision to you, and join the classroom at least 5 to 10 minutes before the start time. And now I request Mr. Chiranjeevi Sham to quickly run through our web page. Over to you, Sham.
Hi everyone, Hare Krishna. Welcome to this very special Essence of Bhagavad-Gita course that we are covering. And so this Essence of Bhagavad-Gita course is very special. We've put together some special material and we've got some expert teachers to come and present on the chapters of the Bhagavad-Gita in detail over this 18-day period. So that we can also help your learning experience, we actually developed a unique website so that you can access all course material over there. I'll shortly be just taking 30 seconds of your time to go through this website so that you can also see what kind of material can be covered. And this website has been communicated to everyone via email, and you'll be able to find this link also while you registered. So the link is bit.do/essence of Gita. This is the website link that all of you would have already had access to by now. So this is how the website will look when you open it up. You'll be able to see a home page where you can find details about the tutors, about what we are covering, and about the details of the course. And of course, this is where you signed up. But the more important part is participant material. When you go into participant material, you'll be able to see the details for the Zoom that we currently are in. You'll be able to see the reference textbook access. That means the reference book, which is the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Then you'll also be able to see a very special handbook we have compiled for you, which you can either access from the website, or you can click here and download this handbook onto your PCs or to your phones. And we also have an exclusive Sanskrit pronunciation guide. For those of you who are interested in learning verses, can actually refer to this guide to see how to pronounce the verses. The other section I want to quickly take you through is the participant questions and blog section. In this section, you'll be able to come in and submit any questions you may have. I know many of you are very inquisitive, want to learn further about the Bhagavad Gita. So here, all you have to do is put in your first and last name, your email, and what your question. And you will be able to see within 2 to 5 working days, we will come back to you with an answer from our team, which is well vetted and in reference to the Bhagavad Gita. The third item I want to take you through, and this is also a critical part of our course through our own learning experience, is feedback. We've also put together a feedback form where everyone can give us some of your feedback about the course, and also please do let us know what you feel we can improve further. So this is all from our side in terms of our website. Just to reiterate, the website that you can access all our content for completely free is called bit.do/essence of Gita. I know many of you are wondering, well, I don't have a Bhagavad Gita at home. How do I access it? If you come to our participant material and you click on Bhagavad Gita as it is online, you get a completely free version of the Bhagavad Gita to access here. But if any of you are interested in getting a physical copy of the Bhagavad Gita, you can also get in touch with us and we'll route you to the right direction. I'm done here. I'm giving it back to you, Jai Govindji, and you can take over for the remaining part of the introduction.
Yeah. We welcome Mr. Jagan to come on board and introduce our teachers for the session. Over to you, Mr. Jagan.
Hi, I'm from Academy of Vedic Sciences. Welcome to you all for the Essence of Bhagavad Gita course. We have registered participants from many different time zones. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. I'm glad to introduce you the main teachers of this course. First, Sri Vallabh Das. For the past 35 years, he is practicing yoga, which we refer as Bhakti Yoga or devotion-based link with the God. Sri Vallabh Das has helped hundreds of people to take up to the path of devotion. He has got a lot of executive level management experience in community development programs and at his professional work as well. He holds a vice president position in finance in a well-known airlines organization. He has a passion for teaching, particularly to the young children. So get ready to become young. Harinam Das. He's practicing Bhakti Yoga for the past 20 years. He's known for his musical mantra meditation sessions. He frequently gives talks to varied audience from different nationalities through the sharing of stories from Indian literatures. He's the founder of an organization that is mainly meant for the lovers of the mantra meditation. So get ready to dance to his tune as he reveals the secrets of the song of the God, that is Bhagavad Gita. Third teacher will be Hari Gopal Das. He's practicing Bhakti Yoga for the past 20 years. He's known for his melodious rendition of devotion-based songs. He's a very seasoned data analytics professional. He loves teaching and presents complicated subject matters in a very simple way. So be ready to see some graphs and mind maps during his sessions. The fourth teacher will be Mohan Das. He's practicing Bhakti Yoga for the past 20 years. He has a lot of experience in teaching, particularly for the youth and children. He is well known to take up challenging questions and explain them with a scientific basis. He works as a principal architect in an IT department, department of a well-known airlines. So get ready to see the block diagrams, flow charts, and reserve all your questions to Mohan Das. He'll be able to answer you all of them. So on the whole, we have a vice president in finance, a data analyst, an IT architect, and a mantra meditation expert. So all the best, enjoy. Let's start with a prayer. May there be peace in the entire world. May all of us be safe, secure, and healthy. May this course prove to be useful to you. May you get good association leading to long-lasting friendships. May this course go without any hindrances. Take care. All the best. Congratulations for signing up to this course of Essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Over to you, Jai Govind Prabhu.
Now we call upon Mr. Shivalabh Das to come over and start the today's session. Over to you, Mr. Shivalabh Prabhu.
As Jagan said, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to people from all around the globe who have joined us today. And I'm sure there are many more who are joining. This is an effort to give an overview of Bhagavad Gita to everyone. And many of you and many of us may be from the Sanatana Dharma background. And sometimes we try to see what is the scripture that I would need to understand. And the Shastras indicate that for those who follow Sanatana Dharma, the Hindus, Bhagavad Gita is a summum bonum. It gives the sum of all the scriptures. So that's the importance of Bhagavad Gita. It's a summary. And as we go on, we will see various parts. But the effort here is before we get into Bhagavad Gita, to give an overview on what is life, what are we as human beings doing, what are the difficulties that we face, what are our capabilities, can we with our limited capabilities understand the Lord, can we understand the scriptures. Now this particular essence of Bhagavad Gita is not only for those who may belong only to the Sanatan Dharma. The essence of all the scriptures are the same. So from that angle, this is going to give an overview of what the Sanatana Dharma talks about as spirituality and reaching out to the Lord. So with that background, I would like to start off by also offering my prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. To my Guru and to Srila Prabhupada, the founder of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, his teachings, and the Bhagavad Gita as it is, which is a wonderful version that he has brought in, which is a very, very authentic version, is the base of what we're going to learn and teach today. So, as an introduction to Bhagavad Gita, I wanted to bring in a few things about what is us as mankind facing. What do we do? What do we need to look after? Are we the fortunate ones being born as human beings? So let's start off with the session today. Before we go in, I wanted to say and just make a point that this Bhagavad Gita has been acclaimed and followed by people all around the world. I've just pulled out a few examples of stalwarts who have talked about Bhagavad Gita. Albert Einstein says, when I read the Bhagavad Gita and reflect about how God created this universe, everything else seems so superfluous. Mahatma Gandhi, that all of us know all around the world, when doubts haunt me, when disappointments stare me in the face, and I see not one ray of hope on the horizon, I turn to Bhagavad Gita and find a verse to comfort me, and I immediately begin to smile in the midst of overwhelming sorrow. Those who meditate on Gita will derive fresh joy and new meanings from it every day. So this is just a small appetizer or to enthuse every one of us. Thank you all for registering and joining. And we as a team, the four of us and so many others who are working to make this event happen, pray for the blessings of the Lord so that it benefits every one of you. And as we also speak the topics of the Lord, it benefits us. We are very proud to be human beings. We're very busy with many things in this world. We don't have that easy time for everything in our life, even to pursue hobbies many times, we think. But then, what are we? What is the special human form that the Lord has given us? And that's what I'm going to just take you through on a journey as a comparison between what we do and what other living beings do. Or basically, the comparison is between humans and animals, just to set the scene. Many times we are called two-legged animals, and we don't need to be two-legged animals. We need to be way better and conscious than the animals. What is common for the animal world and for the human beings is eating. We like to eat, don't we? We like to go to a restaurant. We like to eat fresh, new varieties every day, South Indian, North Indian, Italian, whatnot. The animals also eat. They can eat a large quantity. They know how to eat and cook and eat it themselves. We oftentimes have to depend on others. Sleeping is a very important part of our daily lives. We need to definitely sleep 6 to 8 hours. If we don't sleep well, it's not good health. So do the animals do. They know how to sleep. And we may sleep on a cozy bed. The animals sleep in their own condition and they're happy and they possibly get better sleep than many of the human beings do. Mating, reaching out to the opposite sex. The Lord says that this is one attraction that keeps the world going. Otherwise, people will be brahmacharis, not married at all, or just have live-in relationships or same-sex relationships. I don't want to get into those tough points here, but mating, the animals also do. And men and women also are often pursuing this. But the men and women do it with fashion, and we and the animals do it in their own way. But mating is an essential part of the activity. Defending, of course, we have the United Nations, we have the military, the huge military budgets. Animals do it in a crude way. They're always afraid that somebody's going to attack and take over my zone, and so do human beings. We have borders, we have visas, and there are wars even in the modern day. We have wars happening at all times. There's risk of missiles and nuclear arsenals. So this is common. And in spite of all the material advancement that human beings can be proud of, we are always dissatisfied, full of anxiety, stress. And many times it's surprising to note that even children have stress. School going children have stress. Not only those who are earning an income, possibility of losing a job, stress is there for everybody, young and old. And depressed. Oh man, this coronavirus has hit everybody, and I'm sure many of us have all of these difficulty. And above all, we remain unhappy. Whatever we have, we are never happy and content with what we have. Why is this? The purpose of human life is what I wanted to highlight here. It is not just in eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. The scriptures point out that if we do just these four, we are no better than animals. They are four-legged and we are two-legged, there's no difference. As human beings, we have higher intelligence, we have a discriminating power and a reasoning power. So we have to ask questions. We have to look at, why are we having this special birth? Why are we having these very special consciousness? A human being is endowed with intelligence to inquire, who am I? Am I this body? Am I Indian? Am I American? Am I a man, a woman, a rich man, a poor man? Who is God? What happens after death? Many times we all think we're going to live forever. But death is something that's going to come through to everybody who is born. But then what happens? What's the mystery after death? Is there reincarnation? Is there no reincarnation? But why am I suffering? Why has the Lord created so much disparity that somebody is having so much of money and somebody else does not have anything? Why is this suffering coming about? Why me? Why not him? All these questions we have. And what's the real aim of life? This is also something that if we are intelligent, we will inquire. If we do not have these questions, I can only say again that we are two-legged animals. So now, how can we inquire? How can we know? How can we know who is God? Who am I? Who is God? And what is my relationships? That's called Sambandha, Abhideya, and my eternal goal. My ultimate goal is to reach the Supreme. How do I do that? What is it? What is the science? Bhagavad-Gita is here to tell us all. And there are many ways to acquire knowledge. The modern day education is all based on direct sense perception or evidence-based proofs, which are called Pratyaksha Praman and Anumana Praman. There are basically two varieties. It's called the ascending process and the descending process. When you're working on, I believe what I see, many times people say, show me God and I'll believe he's there, right? So in this way, we want to see, we want to experience, and then we believe, yes, it is there. But not everything in this world we can see to experience. Coronavirus, could any of us see? No, but we've been impacted by it. And Anumana Praman, show me the evidence. So by hearing something, we know, oh, that's a car that's hitting me. Or something breaking, I know it's hitting me. So there are some issues that we have on these matters. So these are the various ways of proofs. But with our limited capabilities, as humans, we commit mistakes, we are illusioned, we have imperfect senses, and we have a capability to cheat others and be cheated. With this capability, we cannot understand. And thus comes to the point of Shabda Praman. The Shabda Praman is the authority from a bona fide situation, from bona fide authorities, which we call the Vedic literatures or scriptures. Every religion has got a scripture. So that is called Shabda Praman, given by somebody, Apaurishaya, not human-made, not made by man. Many times people say that our scriptures are man-made. They are not. We believe that Vyasa, who is none other than the representative of the Lord, has compiled it, but it comes from the super source. We will get to all of that later. So the importance of Vedic understanding is what I want to bring about here. Because by ourselves, we cannot understand anything. We need that help that is on the descending process. Vedas means a vast, an aggregate of knowledge. Vedas is in so many shlokas, aphorisms, and basically we know that there are four Vedas: the Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva. And these Vedas are, the knowledge, source of knowledge, and Vedas are given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by Krishna to Brahma, etc. And the Vedas have various other aspects of the Vedas, which are the form of smritis, poems, sutras, Puranas, ancient stories. 18 Puranas are there. Srimad Bhagavatam Purana is a very special one. And history, Itihasa, Ramayana and Mahabharata are part of Itihasas. Fools call it mythology. Sorry, these are histories, itihas. Itihas means we believe that these really happened. And Mahabharata, I'm bringing you all to Mahabharata here. So the Vedas are a body that's given by the Lord for us. It's the instruction manual given by the Lord who has created us as to how we need to run our lives. When I buy a new TV or a laptop, we buy instruction manuals, or it's there in the same equipment. So this is the instruction manual that the Lord gives. Mahabharata is history, and Bhagavad-Gita is a part of Mahabharata. And the Bhagavad Mahatmya, Gita Mahatmya, which is also from Padma Purana, and also as glorification by Lord Shiva, says, Gita Shastramidam Punyam Yappatet Prayatapuman. If one properly follows the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, one can be freed from all the miseries and anxieties of life. We talked of all the miseries and anxieties, miseries of multiple types: Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautika, Adi Devika, problems created by ourselves, problems created by others, and problems created by the Lord. Coronavirus is something that's come in, God knows who, by others and by the Lord. But it's brought all of us into understanding and now to reaching out to people to understand Bhagavad Gita. And this is a very important verse from the Gita Mahatmya, which says, we talk to the Vedas. Vedas are vast, but Bhagavad Gita is 700 verses. But this particular shloka says, Sarvopanishado ghavo dogda gopalanandana partho vatsaha sudhir bhokta dugdham gita amritam mahat. The Gita Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, is the essence of all Vedic literature. It is just like a cow, and Lord Krishna, who's famous as a cowherd boy, he's milking the cow. And then when you milk a cow, you need a vatsa, a calf needs to first suckle at the teat, and then the milk gets flowing. Arjuna is like the calf. He is inspiring the Lord. On behalf of us, he's asking questions. And then the Lord then profusely gives us the cream. And that cream is called Bhagavad Gita. It is meant for all of us. So I'm just bringing you to the theme of what is Bhagavad Gita and the importance of Bhagavad Gita. Now, I would like to quickly take you through to the background of Bhagavad Gita. We talked of Mahabharata. Mahabharata is also compiled by Veda Vyasa, and Mahabharata explains in detail about the Kuru dynasty, and Mahabharata is talking about King Bharata, and King Bharata, after whom Bharat is also named. And then in the Mahabharata, many of us may know the story, but just to give you a very quick overview, because this is required for you to get to understand some parts of the first, second chapter and discussions, because Bhagavad Gita is a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna as the student, Krishna as the master, Krishna as the Lord. And here in Mahabharata, Kuru dynasty, you have Dhritarashtra and Pandava. Dhritarashtra's children are all called the Kauravas. Pandu's children are all called the Pandavas. Dhritarashtra had 100 sons, headed by Duryodhan. And Duryodhan, Du, as his name starts with Du, was a little bit of an evil-minded person. Many times we say, when we have Diwali and others, it's victory of righteousness over evil. So Duryodhana was part of that particular gang who was not very straightforward in what he did, and he wanted to usurp the kingdom. And the Kauravas as the rulers, Dhritarashtra was blind, so Pandu initially was ruling, but then Dhritarashtra took over when Pandu went to the forest. And then Pandu was blessed with 5 children: Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadeva, who together are called the Pandavas. But the instruction by Krishna is to Arjuna. And Pandu. And here we also had Dronacharya, their teacher, Kripacharya, their teacher, Bhishma, their grandfather, the grandsire, we all know. So this is Mahabharata. Mahabharat. We have heard this very famous TV episode that runs for years. Mahabharata is a mega big serial. Mahabharata is something that is history, has run over 100,000 verses, and Mahabharata is composed more than 5,000 years ago. The Bhagavad-Gita was given by Krishna to Arjuna around 5,000 years ago. That does not mean Bhagavad-Gita is only 5,000 years old. The Bhagavad-Gita in the 4th chapter, as you go through, you will see that Krishna gave this to sun god. So he says, I am the source of giving this information to sun god and then to father of mankind. And in course of time, it got depleted. And now I'm giving it to you again. And that comes in later. So the Bhagavad-Gita is a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. And Arjuna is both a devotee and a friend. And that is the qualification of Arjuna here. And it is one of the greatest philosophical treatises. It is a religious dialogue. And it is just bang in the middle of the war zone. Each of us, all of us, we feel that, the material difficulties are like being within a war zone. We sometimes have warring factions. We have people against in the office, people against at home, relationships. It's a war situation in many cases. But Bhagavad Gita is rightly given right in between the war zone, is when Bhagavad Gita has been given as a synopsis to Arjuna as to how to lead life. And so as you get on to the first chapter, there'll be more that's spoken on Bhagavad Gita. But one of the threads of Bhagavad Gita is the presence of Krishna. Krishna not only gives Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the compiler, is the original compiler of all the Vedas. He is considered as master to even Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And Krishna is, playing a very vital role in the Mahabharata as a messenger first, but then later during the war, even though he's there during the war, he says, I will not lift any weapon. Duryodhana and Arjuna, between the two of you, you can select who you want. Me with no weapons at all, or you want my entire Sena, my military phalanxes. Duryodhana was very happy to take the military. He still did not realize. Many times, even if the Lord comes in front of us, God comes in front of us, we may not know. So that Arjuna, on the contrary, was very happy to have Krishna by his side. Even though it looked like Krishna would not lift weapon, he was protected. He was always by the side of Krishna. The last sloka of Bhagavad Gita says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanudraha, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutihi, Dhruva Nitihi Matir Mama. Wherever there's Krishna, wherever there's Arjuna, there is righteousness, there's victory and everlasting peace. So this will also lead us closer to the end of the 18 sessions. We will also take on to Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita means the song of God, the instructions of Krishna, but Bhagavatam talks about the entire creation. Bhagavatam talks about, the different devotees, the different types of people who have dealt with the Lord in different ways, demons and good and bad and evil. All these stories and all the histories are coming into Srimad Bhagavatam. But Bhagavad Gita that we are focusing on today is comprised of 18 chapters and 700 verses. Many times we may be afraid of Sanskrit verses. Do not. We are going to give you a sample at the end of each day of one verse. We may quote a few. It is very important for all of us to learn. But the basic theme of Bhagavad Gita is split into 3 categories. The first to 6th chapter is talking about Karma Yoga, leading to Bhakti Yoga. Now, some of these, for those of you who are new to these terminologies, do not worry. We'll get into detail as we progress in the chapters. But the yoga ladder, what is karma? What is Bhakti Yoga? What is Jnana Yoga? All of these, what is Dhyana, Jnana, Ashtanga Yoga? Many times we have all the yogic practitioners who are doing yogasanas. They're all from the Ashtanga Yoga school. But what is Bhakti Yoga? And Bhakti Yoga being a very core part of Bhagavad Gita is right placed in between chapters 7 to 12. And then 13 to 18, again, gives knowledge to lead to Bhakti Yoga. So This is the basic structure in which Bhagavad Gita is paced at. Now, how should Bhagavad Gita be understood? Bhagavad Gita should be taken in the spirit of devotion. It is not just a common book that you just get on and get onto a YouTube, get on and do that. You need to with devotion. The Lord says, as a devotee and as a friend. To Arjuna, he says, you will understand me as a devotee and a friend, you will understand Bhagavad Gita. So we need to have that humility to understand the position of Krishna, to understand Bhagavad Gita. So we should not think that we are equal to God. Sometimes people say, I can become God. So, and neither should we think that Krishna is an ordinary person and one more individual. No. So he's considered to be, God who is giving us this knowledge, because this is given by the Lord. And one who tries to study the Gita should not, at least start with theoretically accepting that Krishna is a creator and he is giving this knowledge. And we should read Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit. Otherwise, we will have a difficulty to understand this mystery. How did Arjuna understand Bhagavad Gita? Arjuna said, Param Brahma, you are the supreme. Param Dhama, you are the ultimate abode. Pavitram, you are the purest. You are the absolute truth. You are the supreme enjoyer. You are eternal. And you are transcendental. And you are the original Lord. You are unborn. And you are the greatest. And the others also corroborated that same. So this is another concept called Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. We just do not accept a guru. We also look at Shastra, the scriptures, and we also look at the others, what the other sadhus say. So here Arjuna is again, hearing from Krishna, but he is also corroborating it to what the others say. So we have to look at Bhagavad Gita from the angle of how Arjuna learned Bhagavad Gita. So this is to set the scene. And Bhagavad Gita is to deliver mankind from the darkness of material existence. And every man is full of difficulty and anxiety in this material world. And it's rightly a scripture for us to read, to understand. People suffer. It is for us to understand why we suffer. And Bhagavad Gita will give us a lot of view. And it is for sincere seekers. Bhagavad Gita has got a lot of information on creation, on yoga ladder, law of karma, reincarnation, soul. We'll come to the subject matters of Bhagavad Gita. Above all, it gives the culture, the Vedic culture. Bhagavad Gita has got 5 basic truths. Ishvara, the supreme controller. Jiva, the living entity. Us, we call it the Jiva Atma. Prakriti, material nature, the creation. Kala, the time factor. And karma, how all of these are put into an activity, right? So if you see here, only karma is alone not eternal. All the 4 are supposed to be eternal. I'll just spend a minute on each one of these basic truths. Ishvara is to understand who is the supreme, who is the controller. Ishvara means the controller. And the Lord is understood to be the supreme controller. He is seen in various ways as Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, Creator. He is also called the supreme enjoyer. And he creates living entities. And he is supremely conscious. All of us are conscious. But the Lord is supposed to be supremely conscious and the greatest of all. We as living entities, the Jivatma and the Paramatma, all this will be explained in the 2nd chapter and at various places in Bhagavad Gita. But definitely we also are eternal. Okay, so there is a difference between quality and quantity. We as Jivatma, as eternal beings, as a part and parcel of the Lord, we in quality have the same qualities as the Lord, but in quantity we are small. Okay, and then there's talk of the material nature, kala, time, all working under the direction of the Lord. Then we talk of Jiva, Jivatma, as I said, part and parcel. The Lord says, Mamaivam sho Jiva loke, a small particle. Like we say, how a gram of gold and an entire gold mine, the quality is the same. So we have the same quality, but we do not have it in the quantity. Then we are subordinate to the Lord. Though we also want to be controllers. I think I'm controlling my family, my company, etc. But we are the controllers. We also want to control. We also want to lord it over material nature. And so many times we get beaten by it because we think we are the enjoyers. I am the Lord of this. I have to enjoy this. But actually, the intelligence is to understand who is the supreme controller. And then the jiva sometimes think that I use this creation for my enjoyment. So that is the aspect that we will look at here. Then is Prakriti. Now there are two types of Prakriti. One is called the superior and one is called the inferior. The superior Prakriti are the Jivatmas that we discuss now. The inferior Prakriti is the the other creation of the Lord, which are in the form of moving, non-moving. This is manifestation and creation of the Lord. This is not false, but the creation of many of these are temporary. They are cyclical, and it appears that they appear, they stay, and they disappear. Everything, a building appears, lives for some time, after that it's demolished and finished. So that cycle goes on eternally, and that is why the Lord says, this is my Prakriti. And it is a separated energy of the Lord. And so we say it is inferior in nature. And along with Prakriti also comes the three modes of material nature, which we'll also cover in the Bhagavad-Gita: the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Right? Then we move on to Kala, the time factor. What is Kala? The time. There's a time limit for everything. Everything that's born has to die. There is a particular time limit for every aspect. Now, uh, Krishna says that I, in the form of time, deplete the life of everything. And but the Lord is not depleted at all. The Lord is eternal forever. The time is, every other creation, the jivas, etc., would appear and die. And that's Kala. And then is karma. We have heard it's a very common word, karma. So as you do, so you as per your actions, you have benefits. Now, this karma is not eternal. The other four are eternal, but karma is not eternal. And so you can change your karma by doing things properly. You will suffer or enjoy according to the results of the activities. And you can change it if you have perfection of knowledge. And if you can get a spiritual body or a material body according to the identification. There's a talk here about 8,400,000 species of life and how you get into different species according to the activities that you do. And that is karma. So I missed to get to that slide. It's a combination of the modes, etc., and that's karma. So these are the basic 5 aspects of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita will dwell more. Different chapters will touch upon various aspects of Bhagavad Gita. And I wanted to also come on to say that Krishna is giving this supreme knowledge, and this supreme knowledge comes through the process of parampara. It comes from Krishna to Brahma to Narada to the parampara through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then down into the disciplic succession, as we say, of a guru and a shishya. Okay, that is the process with which knowledge has come in. So parampara is very important to connect. It is like authentified, certified university. You go to a university, you can't become a doctor without going formally to a medical college. So you need that certification. And that certification process is going through the right parampara. You can't just make your own religion and your own philosophy and claim that to be everything. And this Bhagavad Gita, please understand, the parampara, there are multiple paramparas, even within the Sanatana Dharma. And all of this interesting point is that all of them follow this one wonderful scripture as Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna and the basic teachings of Gita, to summarize, is the supreme. Him and the inner spirit is non-different. That is, he is the same. He's not different. We and our body are different. Okay? But it is not the same for the Lord. And he is absolute. And his position will be understood only by a devotee and in parampara. I just wanted to briefly, before getting onto this slide, wanted to also mention that the Hare Krishna movement that you have heard about all around the world, that people have seen, is a very authentic movement that is based on the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, and it is taught based on the original teachings of Krishna coming down through disciplic succession. And this has definitely touched the young and the old, people from all walks of life. And here, it is also coming under parampara. Srila Prabhupada gave this edition of Bhagavad Gita, which we call it the Bhagavad Gita as it is, because it is a compilation of the teachings of all the Vedic teachers Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Shankaracharya. A summum bonum of all of that is brought together and culminated in this version as Bhagavad Gita as it is. So what we're going to see over the next 18 days is this Bhagavad Gita. And we're going to start off with the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita today. I would like to hand over the session with this introduction to my colleague Harinamananda, who will take on from the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much. I hope it was useful. We'll go on and we'll have a small question session at the end. Thank you. Over to you. Stop the share.
Thank you so much, Srivala Prabhu. Good evening, everyone. I'm Harinam Anandas, and it is my good fortune to be in the presence of all of you to share the wisdom that is present in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita as it is. As I share the screen, I'll be walking you through how the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, how Krishna shares the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita in a very beautiful, wonderful way. So the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is entitled as Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. As we all know, Srivala Prabhu also gave a short history on what the Mahabharata war was all about. It was about two parties, the Pandavas, the sons of Pandu, and the Kauravas, the sons of Dhritarashtra. During the gambling match, the Pandavas lost, and eventually everything, their kingdom, their wealth, everything was usurped by the Kauravas. And eventually the decision was made that there would be a war. And in the war, in the place called Kurukshetra, both the parties were assembled. So as both the armies were assembled in the middle of the battlefield, Sanjaya, who is one of the ministers of the Kuru dynasty, was requested by Dhritarashtra to give him a live telecast as to what is going on in the war. And that's the verse with which the whole Bhagavad Gita begins with. So the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra, is primarily divided into two sections. And the way we are going to study this series of chapters is with acronyms. So all of us can remember what is the content of each chapter. So the first chapter acronym, if you want, all of you can note it down. You can memorize the whole first chapter by the acronym DOUBT. All of us, in fact, have various doubts in life, right? And usually our spiritual journey begins with doubt as to who am I? What is the purpose of life? Why there is suffering in life? Why do good things happen to bad people and vice versa? So we all have doubts, and similarly, the whole first chapter, Arjuna is going to share many, many doubts. So the first few verses, verse 1 to verse 27, we will see that how the acronym DOUBT, the letters D-O-U is revealed. D stands for Dhritarashtra and Duryodhan. O stands for ominous result. U stands for uncertainty. and B stands for bewilderment, and T as turning point. We will go through it in the further slides as we read and understand the various verses of the first chapter. In the first section of the first chapter, actually Bhagavad-Gita begins with Dhritarashtra. The verse says, Dhritarashtra uvacha dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamaka pandavaschaiva kim akurvata Sanjaya. So Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjaya, who had been blessed with a divine vision, that he could see whatever is happening in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where both these armies have assembled. So Dhritarashtra asks Sanjaya, my dear Sanjaya, what is happening in the battlefield of Kurukshetra? Please tell me. So the first 13 verses is a dialogue of how Duryodhana is basically explaining or giving an overview to his teacher, the military teacher. What's his name? Yeah. So his military teacher, who is Dronacharya, yes. Thank you very much. So Duryodhana gives an overview of the whole military positions, all the various warriors who are there, who are assigned to do various tasks. And he gives an update to Dronacharya. And with that, he also gives a complete support, and he asks everyone to support Bhishma Pitama, who is the senior most, and he is known to be the undefeatable warrior. So Dronacharya, Duryodhana, and all the warriors who are in the Kaurava side were supposed to support Bhishma Pitama. And with that, Bhishma begins blowing the conch shell. And when he blows the conch shell, it gives great joy and happiness to Duryodhana, because Bhishma Pitama is known to be the most powerful of warriors, and he has never been defeated in any war. Text 14 to 19 explains that how Krishna later on, and Arjuna and all the Pandavas, they blow their conch shells. And when they blew their conch shells, the Kauravas, their hearts were shattered. They were afraid. They were not sure as to, what is this? Why am I feeling so fearful? Yeah, so they already felt a negative feeling, the ominous result. They felt that there is something wrong that's going to happen in this whole war. Yeah. Text 20 to 27, we'll see that how Arjuna is not sure, and he requests Krishna to bring his chariot in the middle of the battlefield so that he could take a survey of all the people who are assembled in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So the Bhagavad-Gita begins with Dhritarashtra inquiring from Sanjaya, asking what did they do, asking what both the parties, Pandavas and Kauravas, do in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And as I mentioned earlier, Sanjaya gives an explanation and overview as to what is going on, and it basically explains that how Duryodhana gives an overview, a status of the whole military array of all
Mr. Harinam, there is some problem with your internet connection. Can I request Mr. Shivala Prabhu to take over?
Yep. So I have connected. I may not have the control of the slides. Yes. So Harinam, whenever you're there, you can take it over from me immediately. Till you connect, when you come in, just say hi, and I will hand over the mantle.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Yes, great.
Please start
Thank
with
you.
that verse 15.
Okay. Great. So sorry for the disconnection on internet. So yeah, so Krishna begins to blow the Panchajanya conch shell. Arjuna blows Devadatta, Bhima blows the Poundra conch shell. These are all special conch shells which were gifted to them by the demigods. And eventually, Arjuna, after blowing the conch shell, after the Pandavas blew the conch shell, he picks up his bow and arrow and is ready to fight. But then he requests Krishna to bring his chariot in the middle of the battlefield. And as Krishna brings the chariot in the middle of the battlefield, Arjuna sees all the relatives, his father-like figures, his grandfathers, his teachers, his brother-like, his cousin brothers, his uncles. So he sees everyone on both the sides, and he starts wondering. He starts having doubts. So this is where the second section of the first chapter begins, verse 28 to 46. So now the situation is such that Arjuna's mind reels. He's thinking, what is the purpose of this whole war? He sees great calamities that may happen if he kills his own family members. So let's see what Arjuna shares. So as soon as Arjuna sees all his relatives, near and dear ones, on the opposite side of the battlefield, his immediate reactions was that his limbs starts quivering, his mouth dries up, and after seeing his relatives, his body starts trembling. So there are a few verses which explains all this, his Arjuna's composition of, of his mental status. And furthermore, Arjuna starts seeing or feeling that what we are doing is probably wrong, right? And he starts giving various arguments. So basically now Arjuna starts getting bewildered. He's not sure whether we should fight or not. So he puts forth various arguments to Krishna. And he says that what is the use of killing all the relatives where after killing them, you won't have them to enjoy the whole kingdom with. So then, verse 32 to 35, Arjuna gives various reasons as to why we should not fight, even in the exchange of three worlds. That even if we win over the three worlds, that is the Swargalok, the Bhuvarlok, the Patalok, even if we win over all these things, What is the use of fighting this war and winning it when you will not have your own near and dear ones with whom you can enjoy? And Srila Prabhupada, in the purport of verse 36, he explains that how, actually, as per the Vedic injunctions, anyone who conducts sinful activities, especially these 6 kind of sinful activities, that is, one who gives poison, one who sets fire to another's house, one who attacks with deadly weapons, one who plunders riches, one who occupies another's land, and one who kidnaps another's wife, is actually should be punished. And any punishment given to them, there is no sinful reactions to that. And actually, Kauravas, that is Duryodhana and his whole army and his brothers, they did all these 6 kinds of aggressions on the Pandavas, and hence they deserved to be punished. And in this particular verse, Krishna is addressed as Madhava, which is husband of goddess of fortune. So we'll see that how in the whole Bhagavad-Gita, Arjuna and Krishna, they refer to each other with various names based on the situation, based on the question, based on the answers that they are seeking. In the later verses also, Arjuna continues to put forth his arguments in terms of how he says that there will be sinful reactions by destroying family. And when we destroy the family, the whole Varnashram system will fall. Varnashram system is Varna and Ashrama, that is the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Then there is Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. This is an ancient Vedic system which was developed by the Lord himself for the smooth functioning of the society. So Arjuna puts forth the argument that if family traditions are lost, if family is killed, the men are killed, then the whole family tradition will be destroyed. And degradation of society will happen. The superiors are killed. There will be destruction of eternal family tradition. That means the Vedic rituals will be stopped. Irreligion predominates in the family. Women become polluted, unchaste. And because of that, there will be unwanted progeny, and all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are stopped. So Arjuna pretty much gives many valid reasons as to why not to fight, and he feels very much dejected. And now in text 44 onwards, he starts thinking that what is the purpose of this whole fight? Yeah. It is better that we lose in the battle and give them everything rather than fighting this war and killing everyone. And then Arjuna decides that it is better to die unarmed in the battlefield. And with this, in the last verse of Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 1, Arjuna puts down his bow and arrow, sits on his chariot, and he's overwhelmed with grief that what a ghastly affair we are getting into. Yeah? And he basically surrenders to Krishna. So imagine Arjuna in the middle of the battlefield with Krishna on a chariot, where this 18 Akshoni Sena, millions of warriors facing each other to fight the war, and Arjuna at the last moment decides not to fight. So this is just a summary from the first chapter of how Arjuna gives various reasons. He gives the reason of compassion as to of course, Arjuna is a great devotee of the Lord, so it was natural for him to show compassion towards everyone. And that's why he rejects the idea of continuing to fight. He also says that how it is of no use because they will not be able to enjoy the kingdom, even if they fight this war and win over the entire kingdom. He gives the reasons of destruction of family tradition, irreligion, unwanted progeny, varnashram, and Vedic rituals will end. He also gives reasons of saintliness and fear of sinful reactions. Arjuna thinks enjoying royal happiness is not worth because it's the result of sinful reaction for destroying the family and killing his superiors. And finally, Arjuna is indecisive. He's confused. He's bewildered. And that is the turning point in which he kind of rejects to continue the war. So just to give a summary of the whole first chapter, we can all remember this acronym DOUBT. D stands for Dhritarashtra and Duryodhan. The Bhagavad-Gita first chapter begins with Dhritarashtra inquiring about the events that are happening in the battlefield, while his son Duryodhan is busy firing up his army to prepare for the war. And we see that how there is, O stands for ominous result, that too many signs indicate his inevitable defeat. Those who stand on the side of purity and righteousness are always victorious, regardless of whether the worldly odds seem stacked against them. So because Krishna was present there, along with him, the pious sons of Pandu were also there. So there was no doubt that the victory will be on the Pandava's side. And also the place where they were fighting was a holy land, Kurukshetra. So that's why there was ominous result from the beginning of the war itself. Arjuna later on becomes uncertain. He was not sure whether he should fight or not. So he requests Krishna to bring his chariot in the middle of the battlefield, and then he sees his relatives and he's not sure what to do. And furthermore, he is bewildered, foreseeing the imminent suffering and death that is going to happen in this war. And finally, T stands for turning point, where Arjuna justifies his decision to retreat from fighting. So this was the overview, the essence of the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and there will be many such amazing sessions, chapter-wise sessions, which will be led by some of the amazing speakers. So we'll open the forum now for any questions or any doubts if anyone has.
I would first suggest that if you have any queries, you can post it on the chat box and we'll be able to read from your queries. As also, I think we've also said if the number of questions are quite a lot, we will then address it later, but we can always take a few questions immediately if you have any.
Hi everyone. Sorry, just a few tips and some announcements that we can make. As we're waiting for a few questions, you can please send it over on the chat box, and so then the host can read these questions and get back. In the meantime, I just also wanted to give some tips. Is that this course will be very informative. You'll have a lot of interesting points that will be made. So you can feel free to maintain a notebook of notes and or Word document of notes that you can also share with us after the course if you'd like, so we can also share it with the other students. And this will be useful even for our reference.
There was a question on Sanjay. Harinam, do you want to take it?
I think I've not got the question. I don't know where the question
Okay,
was.
pick up. Okay, let me just say a couple of words. A question from one Mr. Sanjay. How did Sanjay get to see the Mahabharata war? It was a live telecast of what was happening right at Kurukshetra. And Sanjay was given this very special Divya Chakshu, the vision of the Lord. And the current day, if telecast can happen sitting at one place, you're able to see matches happening all around the world. Yes, it was possible at the time of Krishna too. And not only that, even Arjuna was given a very special, the Lord Krishna said, Divyam dadami te chakshuhu. I give you a very special eyes tainted with devotion with which now you can see my form. So by the mercy of Krishna, anything was possible. And so Sanjay could see a full live telecast of what was happening sitting in front of Dhritarashtra. Over to Harinam for the second question.
I think there is a question on, please explain the O of the doubt, ominous result. What are the signs? So one of the main signs which was there was, as I explained earlier, that Kurukshetra was a holy place. And Dhritarashtra himself, he knew that in the holy place, Krishna himself is present. The pious sons of Pandu, the Pandavas themselves are present. So Dhritarashtra himself begins the Bhagavad-Gita actually with Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetra. He addresses Kurukshetra as Dharma Kshetra. So that was one of the things. Also, second is when Krishna, Arjuna, and all the Pandavas, they blew their conch shell. It shattered the hearts of the Kauravas, especially Duryodhan and his all the brothers. So that's another question which made another situation which made the whole situation of the war ominous for the Kauravas. Yeah. I think we'll take the next question.
There was a question on, can you explain Prakriti? Prakriti is the nature, the manifestation of the Lord, the creation of the Lord. And there are various other times at the sessions where we'll be able to talk about it. And very broadly, I think as I mentioned before, Prakriti is the creation, and he has created it for the sake of also the Jiva-atmas to be able to be present and together work and act. And there were two types of Prakriti. One is called the inferior nature. Prakriti is also spoken in feminine many times, that he is Purusha. Krishna is called the Purusha, and Prakriti is called, or the feminine aspect is called Prakriti, his entire creation. Everything that is made for his enjoyment is called Prakriti. And inferior Prakriti is what you see as general creation. Superior Prakriti is what you see as Jivatmas, who are also creations of the Lord. These are brief answers that we're able to give you right now, but we'll get into detail wherever possible.
There is another question here. Why was Dhritarashtra born blind?
That's a very beautiful question. Actually, there's a story behind it. So Dhritarashtra actually had committed a sinful act, and as Srivalla Prabhu mentioned, how what you sow, so shall you reap. Karma plays a major role. So many births actually hundreds of births before, Dhritarashtra was a hunter, and he goes for hunting, and eventually he sees a nest of a bird's nest where there were 100 eggs laid. So the hunter, he goes, climbs the tree, and as he was trying to hunt, he sees this nest. And he somehow decides to poke the bird who was taking care of the nest, and he pokes the eyes of the bird. And eventually, all the eggs of the birds, they fell down and they died. So as a reaction to that, Dhritarashtra was born blind. And there was a question by Dhritarashtra himself that why did it take me 100 births for for this reaction to take place? I could have taken next birth where I could have been born blind. And it is said that Krishna explained that actually to beget one son, you had to do many pious activities in one life. So you had to go through 100 lives to get the punya, the pious activity, to get 100 sons at in one life. So that's why he had to go through 100 births, and after 100 births, he got the pious activity accumulated to get 100 sons, and then he was born blind. So that was the reason. There's also one more question which I'll quickly answer. What is the learning from chapter 1? And I was also trying to figure out that what can we really learn from chapter 1? And one of the things is that, the art of asking questions or asking doubts is also, we learn from Arjuna, that in a humble mood, Arjuna inquired from Krishna and put forth his pertinent questions to Krishna. One of the amazing things of Sanatana Dharma is that it is the only practice, or I would say Hinduism is the only religion where questioning is encouraged. Most of the spiritual practices, they discourage asking questions. Don't ask, just follow, is what they teach. But only in Sanatana Dharma, questioning is encouraged. In fact, all the literatures, most of them, they came out of questioning. When 80-year-old Maitreya Rishi asked questions to Parashar Muni, who is just 20-year-old, the Vishnu Puran was the result of that question. When Parikshit Maharaj asked the questions to Sukdev Goswami, Srimad Bhagavatam was the result. When Yudhishthir Maharaj asked question to Bhishma Pitama, Vishnu Sahasranam came. So on and so forth, questioning is always encouraged. And similarly, the first chapter, I feel the lessons that we learn is that one should ask questions in a humble mood, and definitely from a person who is coming in a proper disciplic succession. So that's another question. Srila Prabhu, you want to take another few more questions that are there?
Yeah, there is one question as to why Krishna kept quiet until the end of first chapter. Now, Krishna did not break it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 18 chapters. It was a continuous dialogue, though. But then Arjuna's questions are not yet over at the end of first chapter. In the second chapter too, there is a question. And after that, Krishna is first letting his dear friend, open up and speak out all that he has in his mind, deliberate on all the problems that he has. And so listening is a good skill. And so there, he listened to everything that he had to say. And then he definitely pinpointed the faults in the reasoning of Arjuna. And then Krishna continued to speak, and where at sometimes he chastised Arjuna. There were a couple of interesting questions as to why Dhritarashtra was not given the kingdom and why Pandu and his children were given the kingdom. As a blind man, born blind, Dhritarashtra was disqualified from being a king. And therefore, even though the kingdom was taken away from Pandu, it was not Dhritarashtra as a king, it was almost Duryodhana as a king. So, uh, for the benefit of the people, it was moved to Pandu as, again, a righteous son. The other aspect is Dhritarashtra also was not as righteous as Pandu and the Pandavas were, and thus the decision there. There's one other question, either Harinam or me can take it. He says, why Bhagavad-Gita, which is a science, a sacred essence of spirituality, is set in a violent background? It's a science of non-violence. Why is it set in a violent background? Harinam, you want to answer?
Sorry, I didn't get the question too.
Okay.
I'm just scrolling through so many questions. So
kindly throw some light on why Bhagavad-Gita, sacred essence of spirituality, where non-violence is the crux, is set in a violent background of war. Any significance?
yes. So actually, in the later part of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself explains that why this war is important. It's not about being violent for ulterior motives. It's about being violent for doing your duty. For example, a soldier who goes to the war and he kills hundreds of enemies, and when he comes back, he gets a state award, the highest award of the state. But he comes back home and he gets into a fight with his neighbor and he ends up killing his neighbor. What do you think the government will do? The government is definitely going to put him behind the bars. And one may question why. Earlier, when he killed hundreds of people in the war, he was awarded, but he comes back home and he kills one, insignificant neighbor, he's put behind the bar. So the question is because he was acting on the principles of the government. So similarly, Arjuna, to protect dharma, it was a duty of a Kshatriya to fight. So as a Kshatriya, as a warrior, if he will not fight, then who will protect the whole dharma? Who will protect all the praja, all the people, all the community? Otherwise, irreligious practice will continue. So that's why this violent act was necessary, not for us, not for ordinary people like us, but for warriors. So that is the reason why Krishna asked Arjuna to fight the war. There's another question as to, can you throw some light on Varnashram? I think that will be covered later on in one of the chapters. So please attend every day. So we will not answer questions which are going to cover in the later chapters.
There is one question on why was Arjuna selected to lead the battle. No, the battle, different days, different people lead, but Arjuna was one of the most worthiest and the strongest of the warriors in the Pandava side. He was the most infallible one. Of course, Bhima was strong too, but Arjuna was one of the most intelligent within the Pandava side, and he was on the beginning day. Now, there's another interesting question. When everything is controlled by the Lord and human beings are part and parcel of Krishna, this war could have been averted by Krishna punishing the Kauravas. And why did everybody had to go through this so much pain? Now, this is the law of karma. The Lord does not impose anything. Even if he has created us and he says we have to worship him and we have to, he is not forced us to love him and worship him. He gives us the independence so that we can get a choice. It's like a father telling a child, you have to come and do this to me every day because I'm your father. No. He set the rules and regulations, but he wants people to take it on. Krishna tried to avert the war through the normal process as a mediator, but his requests were completely rejected. And not only that, the killing, Krishna also in the 11th chapter, you will see, that Krishna told Arjuna, rise up and fight and don't think you're killing. All these people have already been killed by me. Just show that you're killing it and be my weapon. I have already done everything that needs to be done. So it is destined that all these people are to be finished off by the Lord, and therefore all of this is happening. And everybody who is even killed in the process of a war attains the supreme abode or attains the heavenly kingdom. And all these people in front of the Lord, in front of Krishna, if they are killed, they also attain a heavenly kingdom. So there are various aspects that are covered there. It's a detailed topic, but I'm just giving you a brief overview here. Chapter 1, how can it be related with the 21st century? We are all in confusion as to what to do, what's our duty. And so Arjuna's compassion is there. So, a normal person will just fight. But Arjuna was, though he had the right to fight for his kingdom and to get back, because Krishna said, give them at least one village each. And Duryodhana said, no way, nothing at all. And so they also, as heir to the kingdom, were supposed to get it. And so in this particular stage, Arjuna had to fight. Now, the compassion, in spite of that, what we have to learn from Arjuna's good saintly qualities are the compassion and the feeling for others. These are something that we need to have always in us. And ultimately, Arjuna then surrenders to the will of the Lord, to Krishna, and Krishna says, you fight for righteousness, and therefore take it up, it's your duty, and so fight. The rulers or the politicians of a country cannot just back out saying non-violence. That's where sometimes there were issues with regards to the non-violent movement of Gandhi. There had to be some violence picked up, as we say, Subhash Chandra Bose had picked up. So there's a role for violence and there's a role for non-violence. So this is a broad angle of discussion here. Okay. Any other question? I read the question. Yeah, go ahead, Harina.
Yeah, so there is a question as to if so, is it that God chooses individuals? Is it that if we are here in some ways, we are also chosen? So yes, I would say that all of you are somehow or the other chosen by the Lord to attend this course. It is no coincidence that you might have come across this WhatsApp message or some post in social media to attend this course. Krishna shares in Bhagavad-Gita, Bahunam Janmana Mante Jnanava Mam Prapadyante Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudulavam. So after many, many births, one tries to understand the Supreme Lord, and very few people, they really understand him in essence. So it's not coincidence. It is the will of the Lord that you are all attending the course. And I humbly request that just continue this beautiful journey, understand the Bhagavad-Gita for the next 18 days and be part of this beautiful celebration of Gita Jayanti 2020. So let's make 2020 a more memorable year by attending the full course. Yeah.
Do we have time to take a few more questions, Jai Govind Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I'm Jagan here. I think I'm seeing the chat questions. I think there are a lot of questions surrounding on the theme of violence. So I think probably tomorrow some time can be allocated to answer that question, why there is violence, why Krishna wanted violence, could it not be done through non-violence? I think most of the questions are related to violence. So I think that violence and non-violence topic can be elaborated tomorrow or during the course of next few days as a theme, underlying theme. I think that will be very beneficial for the audience. And I also wanted to, on behalf of the administrating team, I also wanted to give you an assurance that all your questions will be taken by our team of administrators who are working in the backend, supporting the teachers, and we will collate them and try to answer in brief or in detail as it deems fit. And you will be given those copies or whatever form that has to be delivered to you will be delivered as chosen by this. So please keep asking questions. It will also trigger our thoughts. We will try to refer the book. We will try to refer the other senior leaders, senior teachers in the movement, and try to get you the best possible answers. So kindly do not refrain from asking questions. Like as Harinam Prabhu said, it is Bhagavad Gita is all about questions and answers. Hare Krishna.
I think there is one question that's interesting. If you think we should continue for a few more minutes, why was not Yudhishthir chosen? Why was Arjuna chosen to reveal the Bhagavad Gita? I think the question is also, Vandanaji has also said that because he was the greatest archer and also great friend of Krishna, he was another form in short as an expansion of Krishna itself, because he's also considered as Naranarayana Rishi. And not only that, he was a devotee of Krishna too. Yudhishthir, who did not was trying to refrain from telling that the elephant is died when Krishna indicated that. Though it was Krishna said, pronounce that the elephant, Ashwatthama Hataha, pronounce it. But Yudhishthira said no. So Krishna had to kill the elephant called Ashwatthama and make sure. So Yudhishthira sometimes did not follow exactly what the Lord said, but Arjuna was somebody that would follow, and he was a righteous student, and he asked the question at the right time. He was the one who asked these questions, so Krishna chose him to answer. Right.
Yes. Great. I think we have covered most of the questions, and if any of you have any other pertinent question, there is a form on the website where you can ask these questions, and one of us will definitely answer them individually to you.
So we wanted to cover one other aspect here to give you all an overview every day of just one shloka selected from every chapter. And if you may all want to just see, there was a lot of questions around this. And the question was, I will just read the shloka so that we all understand the importance of Sanskrit and the shloka also. So just hear me out carefully, and you can remain muted and chant the shloka. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharmakshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavah mamakah pandavaschaiva kimakurvata Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra said, "Oh Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do?" So there are many other questions that are answered by just this particular shloka. Some of these we just picked up a shloka, but many other chapters, the shlokas are something that you can all slowly learn and memorize. Dharmakshetre, the place of pilgrimage, actually. So it's a righteous place, and this war is happening for righteousness, and therefore Kurukshetra is also referred to as Dharmakshetra. That was one of the questions. I stopped my share. Right. So it is not that the others did not hear the Gita. There was a question to say, why didn't the others hear the Gita? It is possible that all of them have heard it, but Gita was a very specific rendition for Arjuna. It was given over around a 40-minute period to Arjuna. Right in between the battlefield, things paused, and until the war was starting, Arjuna's questions were answered by the Lord. Then only the battle began. It was one last chance that Arjuna had to try and get out of the battle, but Krishna said, "You have tried it all. You have to fight now. Rise up and fight."
Okay.
Over to
Okay.
you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shivala Prabhu and Harinam Anand. It was an amazing session, and you have finished it on time. And as Harinam Prabhu and Shivala Prabhu has mentioned, those questions which are not answered, we will compile the answer and we'll put it in our website. And please refer to our website bit.do/essence of the Gita. And also, before we conclude today's session, I would like to say the classrooms norms again, because though we have announced join the meeting only with your registered name, but we have seen so many galaxies, iPhone, all those stuff. From tomorrow onwards, please kindly log in with your registered name. And so this one thing we want to make announcement. And tomorrow, Shivala Prabhu, would you like to say about tomorrow's session, what we are going to cover up?
Tomorrow, we are
Yeah.
getting a untitled chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. Again, as I said, the questions of the confusion of Arjuna continues for a few more verses. And then finally, Arjuna surrenders to Krishna. And then Krishna gives him a full analysis of who am I? Who is the soul? What is the soul? What is the difference between the body and the soul, etc.? He says, do not fear in killing. You have to do the killing for the sake of righteousness. Go ahead. So the very important aspects start from tomorrow's session of the second chapter. Second chapter is very large, 70 odd verses. So there won't be much of story as much as I covered today. It's more of philosophy. Brace yourself up for tomorrow. And day after tomorrow, we'll cover third and fourth chapters. So we'll go sometimes two chapters combined, etc. And the same pattern will be followed with some kirtan, small japa, various aspects of philosophy that we will introduce on the different days. One shloka at the end, some question answer session at the end. One day we will have a complete question answer session also that we can all open. We will have a wonderful interactive quiz if possible. So a lot of things are lined up. Now, some of you, many who have registered, have not yet joined today, or possibly more than one have registered through one link. But then, do not worry. Each day is an independent learning. Even if you miss some day, that's okay. We have the recording. We can pass it on later. But the first is for you to attend and be present here. Kindly make yourself available for the next 18 days as the biggest tapasya you can do running up to Gita Jayanti. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
Okay.
everyone for joining. We will be seeing you for the future sessions every day for the next 18 days. Please commit yourself. Please keep yourself free every evening before Gita Jayanti comes. Over to you, Jai Gunpur.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So we look forward to see you all again tomorrow, sharp 7:30. Until then, good night and good day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.